Hey fam, so I watched a really cool video today and I really made me start thinking about men. And I don't know if you're familiar, but there is a rise of anti men propaganda. And I didn't realize that the new wave of feminists are matriarchal and they say things like they want to take apart the patriarchy and cis men are really bad, and cis men is a categorization for a straight male or bad. And this is, I think, is a little scary because if we forget how important brave, courageous men are, and we only think of them as degenerate pigs, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice here. And for the longest time, you know, I was anti domestication and really hard, but I also made a lot of bad decisions when it came to relationships. And I had a maybe say two good examples that I sort of maybe looked at as good father figures, but other than that, I didn't really have a strong father figure. And I didn't have any strong brothers, and I did have a couple cousins, but they started to act degenerate as well. So it was really hard to get good examples of men. And then obviously growing up and seeing lots of gangster images, or men were portrayed as idiots in a lot of TV shows. So it was a little strange, you know? It was a little strange not having virtuous, strong male examples to look at. So this new culture of people who want to frame everything as men versus women, I get that during the 1950s, this office dudes and their secretaries and pinup girls and all stuff like that. Indeed, that was a phase, you know, definitely was. And I get that we want to not just be objects, right? But the thing is, we have to also encourage men to be better. We can't tear them down and then expect them to be better. I think that's a mistake. And I think it's a mistake to be anti cis male. I think you gotta just embrace men. And what troubled me is that certain organizations specifically state in their policy, like, we're for trans rights and we are for gender identity and all these weird stuff that has like its own categories, which they were saying more than just legal rights, but they said everything in the world except for cis men, heterosexual men. And I find that pretty scary because who do they think has fought the most to keep our species going, right? We need men for reproduction, for protection, for guidance, for heavy lifting, and for companionship. I mean, here's something that I find a little strange that's going on. If the trans people are mad at cis males, I'd ask yourself, every time a trans person is portrayed, they're portrayed as degenerates. And then now cis men are portrayed as alpha jocks who are just want meatheads who just want to hump everything. I think it's time for people to rethink their PR image and to examine the way in which people represent them, and to, instead of attacking each other, work on their own image and their own role models, right? I think it's a really scary idea if we start isolating straight men. And I think it's dangerous for gay people to encourage the youth to experiment sexually with different things, because if you take the premise that you're born gay, then you shouldn't be pressuring anyone to try anything they don't want to do. And I also heard that some trans activists say that if you are a lesbian and you do not want to have intercourse with somebody who is a male who went to female and had the operation, uh, you're a bigot. And it's like, no, that doesn't seem right to me. To each their own. Equality before the law is all we really have to do. And we're working there. Everyone's getting equal before the law. But why do you have to bash straight men to make your movement more potent? That shouldn't be your rallying cry. You know? This demonization of men, I think, is very dangerous because it's gross to see a man become weak. I saw it with one of my family members, and when you see a vibrant male, and because he's in an abusive relationship, he just kind of morphs into this pile of nothingness, and he's mentally weak, and he's got addicted to drugs, and he's just shattered. It's like watching Hercules slowly drain out in blood. It's not a very beautiful thing to witness. And if you're a woman who enjoys seeing cis men suffer, you have a dark energy in you that you need to purge, that you need to fix. And I know some cis men, right? They can insult you, call you ugly, they may make fun of your boob size, they poke fun of your body weight, whatever it is. I get it, but don't demonize all of them. There's noble men who are straight, you know? I find it strange how some girls are forcing their partners to wear dresses, forcing their men to, uh, oh man, I'm not even gonna say. It's just, there's a movement of over domination that I'm noticing from some of my fellow women, and I have a dominant personality, and sometimes I'll wrestle or I'll punch somebody in the arm. I'm very physical, and I'm not very mousy or meek, right? And some people mistake that you should be catty and bitchy to a man. It doesn't work. You cannot smack a man and be like, get out of my face, blah, blah, to these men in order to make them obey. And even if you're, just the most beautiful thing in the whole world, still won't make them obey. Even if they love you, you're still not gonna obey. You just have to accept the fact that they'll never obey. They're their own person, right? So don't go around thinking that because you can't control them and because your dominance can't be asserted, that therefore they are bad and you are superior. I mean, I'm a survivor of many instances of male abuse, but I still refuse to hate men because I realize how much they're needed. And I'm strong, right? But I do know that if I was falling down the side of a mountain, do I want the skinny girl with her frail arms to save me, or do I want a big husky man to save me? And the huskiest man is still going to be a little bit stronger than a woman who's very fit. And most women who are huge bodybuilders, they use steroids, so I mean, they're going to develop some type of cancer or something like that. And the testosterone that they're taking has changed them, and that's just for show, for bodybuilding. It's not necessarily muscle mass that's dense, that's used for actual physical stuff. It's more just of a pumping up for artistic reasons. But I think that if you're finding yourself saying, down with the patriarchy, F men, you must realize that if you're not at the same time advocating women to get educated, to have, networks of family so that they can be stable and help them raise their kids, then I think you're sick. And if you want to destroy the nuclear family, if a man and a woman want to have babies and have a dog and a fence and a car and they want to have the traditional life, you should not shame them for that. And now you understand, if you want to be childless and be a gold digger and sleep with everything that walks, that's up to you, boo. But do not turn around and shame women for liking traditional men and strong masculine men who are not bisexual or trans or any other category. If you don't want them to attack you, don't attack them. I mean, it seems pretty dumb to me. It really does. I don't know. I don't see any point in trying to tear down men and emasculate them. You need strong, healthy men in your culture. Any person who can't see that is under a mental delusion, a serious mental delusion. I'm not saying that women have to be subservient. I'm not saying that women shouldn't have a voice. I think it's a partnership. And of course, every relationship, somebody has a few degrees of more power in different areas. But do not just start hating men. But again, I know a lot of women, they want to, have this sexual power and then act like a male slut, and they think that's power. But then they see good men cheat on their good wives with sloppy, slutty women, and it makes them demotivated. Yeah, you just try to help your family members do better. Just try to help the men in your lives do better. And just, you see a guy messing up, be like, hey man, that guy's messing up, and then just try to help the men in your life do better. But tearing them all down, it's not going to make them improve their behavior, and cis men will always exist. They necessarily have to exist. Gay men can still give sperm to straight women, but either way, heterosexual people will always exist. So demonizing them, thinking that you're going to destroy them and build a world where there's 1,000 different gender identities and trans speciesism, trans ageism, trans racialism, all that stuff you can make up that own reality if you want, but don't bash straight men, because we need them and they're valuable, and not having strong men is leading to the decay in our society. And I'm sorry if you don't see that. I used to not see it, but I see it now. So, again, just think and help men become better, right? And be better yourself. We help each other, hold each other to a higher standard. It's a partnership. It's a partnership. The government can never replace a human being in your home who's a man.